Hey everybody, welcome to another part, the other half of this segment of interrogation. What's it? Against their will. So it's your host, moi, your host, your boy,
Can't
Nate
focus while
Rasa.
looking at us cracking
I
up.
can't. I'm trying to, but I can't stop laughing at these pictures. Like it's just.
This is from our episode 1, our season 2.
Yeah, there's no way I can take this seriously. Anyways, yes, we're going to interrogate the wonderful, the queen from hell herself.
Did you backtrack on you? You were gonna say the lovely. You backtracked. I heard it.
I
heard it.
Yeah, I did backtrack because we're not being lovely today. We're
Yeah,
a
we're
different
not.
aesthetic.
We're really not.
So the queen of the underworld herself, Miss Jai Choi.
That's funny because I'm like very clearly not Persephone.
Yeah, that's true.
Welcome to the studio.
It's just me doing this. I can't believe this is my face in the background. I'm just. What was the joke? Do you even remember what the joke was? Whatever. Like stupid.
It's probably just
stupid.
us. We've come a long way since this.
We have. So, taking the formula you used on me for the other previous episode. Yeah, because I am a TE user, low TE, so I can't establish my own system. Tell me about major points in your life.
Wow, I thought you were gonna get a little creative. You're like, nah, let's just do the exact same thing.
That's what I meant.
So back in May of 2020, I started collabing with this
psycho from heck.
This with this.
This Naruto from your past.
Yeah. And what can I say? I'm a changed woman. And that's how I am here. That's why
once you go Nate.
You can't go back. There's no going back.
Well, you can't be late, so. Yeah.
I'm upset. Okay. Major points in my life.
Well, okay, let's actually fine. I'll have some fun about it. Maybe I'll play some FE on this.
Yes, play some FE.
So, like, people know you from your channel mostly. You did mention even briefly in the previous episode too, like you like that people are watching you to make you productive and effective in the world.
Right, exactly.
When did that start? When did you start creating your 3 coping mechanisms?
College, for sure. Before I was in college, I didn't know I was a 3, and I didn't act like a 3 until I hit college. Before that point, I don't know, it wasn't important to me. I think my 3-ness started coming in only like my 2nd year of college, and I just ended my 3rd year. So honestly, me embracing my 3-ness, whatever, it hasn't happened till very, very recently.
Oh, that is fascinating. So you were just kind of going through the chapters of your life, the earliest chapters of your life, just kind of pacing through it.
Right. I mean, I thought I was an 8 for a long time. And I really did act like an 8 back when I was in high school, like very much so. I think that I didn't have good opportunities for me to be able to flex my 3. Maybe that was still me being developed and using 3. That was becoming my coping mechanism throughout that time, and it developed, and now I'm a 3.
You're also a counter type. So you also have like that thing of you're not really gonna come out like a 3. It's not like I wouldn't even peg you as a person in high school who would just show off. I feel like that's not.
Yeah, I was not the type. Even now, I'm not the type to like show off. I mean, as a 3, obviously, like I do a lot of stuff, but it comes across as it's like an offhanded comments. It's like I'm just doing stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I wrote my book, I got 300 sales, and blah blah blah. Like,
yeah, it's
it's very nonchalant. Yeah,
3rd degree, 2nd degree compliments.
Right. It's different from like the more like assertive SO3 type of like. Yeah, so I got 1st place when I was, blah blah, like that.
Yeah, or like even presenting yourself like as an SX3, like putting yourself out there.
Yeah, like for me, if I see that, I kind of get like embarrassed for them, but that's because I'm projecting. It's because I'm projecting, obviously, but I get embarrassed when people like stuff like that. Like, yeah, I don't know, it just makes me a little uncomfortable. But for me, like I started vlogging, my sophomore year of college, and I actually started vlogging kind of when I was like in a worse mind state. I think I wasn't in a good mind state looking back at my vlogs, I realized very clearly that I was very unhealthy at that time. But while I was in that space, I didn't realize. That was like about like a year ago now. No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago now.
I just realized it's so Gen Z of you to be vlogging.
Yeah,
Like,
it
it
is.
actually makes sense because
Yeah.
I have a friend who is one too, and it's very like TikTok life, live it. And I'm going,
Yeah, and I actually that's where I first grew my subscribers, just through my vlogs. I actually like I gained like my first, okay, I don't have a lot of subscribers on my other account. I have like maybe 120, but the first like 70 were from my vlogging, and then the last like 50 were from typology, which I only started putting out typology videos this like a year ago in September last
well,
year.
when did you start? Did you already knew you were like the ENTP back then? Like, did you take any kind of
Oh, I
classing
knew
in
I
high
was an
school or
ENTP
like?
since 2013 or sooner than that. Like I've been studying. I was really into MBTI when I was in junior high for a little bit, and then I learned about cognitive functions, and I learned a lot about them, but I didn't actually learn how, like, which type uses what until like my junior or senior year of high school, so like 4 or 5 years
Isn't
ago.
that always the first of anything too? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I knew what profile I matched, but that was about it.
Well, no, I knew all the cognitive functions. I just didn't know what went with what. Like I didn't learn the formula because I was kind of too lazy to at first. I actually asked someone off of Twitter to help me with it, and she helped me figure out which type was which. But yeah, so I got into it like around then. When I started my typology content though, like on YouTube, I think it was like, I think a lot of people struggle to start because they're like, oh, I don't know enough, or like what can I contribute? And like I don't really have that kind of mindset in general in life, but I think me realizing more explicitly that like literally maybe you're not the account that will get big, but the people that you impact, maybe you were the only one who could have impacted them that way, because everything is about relationships. Maybe you and I could say the exact same thing, but someone needed to hear it from you the way you say it. Someone needed to hear it from me the way I say it, based on the relationships with us and based on the way we would say it, etc. So I just thought like, hey, honestly, like I don't need to impact a lot of people, but I'm like, hey, maybe if I impact one person, or two people from this thing that I do, like I honestly am very inspired by stuff like that, which is like my FE.
Yes.
Yeah, like I'm the type of like person. I mean, as a 3, I want to be admired by people, even though I don't consciously like the idea that that's what I need, but that's it. So I think I tend to like make these friendships where it's like I'm friends with someone for like maybe 3 months. I inspire them maybe, and then we move on.
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of those relationships, like friendships, like, yeah, I don't know.
It's funny because you mentioned it, and it sounds very NF type of flow.
Yeah.
And I get what you mean though when you said it was an FE thing, because I definitely get that. That actually makes more sense to me, because I've never understood the concept of like inspirational, or like, oh, well, if you didn't say it, somebody else will, along the line. It's their style, blah blah. I'm like, yeah, like,
I mean, I definitely think that there's always like someone who could say it better than me, but maybe there's someone who needs it the way that I would say it. And I experienced that because I know like certain people have told me certain things, but it's impacted me differently when different people have said it, even though it's the exact same thing. But like sometimes, oh, this time it makes sense, like it just depends.
Yeah. Do you because okay, let me get my thoughts together. Your FE seems actually a lot better than from a lot of the people I've met, and I don't know if that's partly because you are a female ENTP, but there has been, I don't know, like a lot of the people, especially thinkers I have encountered online, there's often an issue with socializing. And like, me as a person that's like super social and super no stranger danger, you also kind of have a similar thing with that, where you don't really find or have that same radar of like, oh, well, I'm going to be awkward in chat, because you're not. When did that start?
Honestly, I think just like growing up, I was very expressive, very bubbly. I was a very enthusiastic child, I guess. Like a nickname that my parents would always call me, like in Korean, but it meant like 1,000 faces, as in I was very expressive. I would have many different like expressions. And I wondered too if there was like a little bit of like they meant 1,000 masks sort of thing, but I don't know. It was like an interesting idea because it's true. I was very expressive, but I realized too that it was a lot of me playing. It's like the the immature ENTP thing where we go from NE, FE, and like we poke at social situations
poking
to
at
try to figure
things.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, and it's not like like you say things that you don't actually mean to see what the reactions would be, so you could store it and then use it in the future. So obviously, I went through that phase, but I think that I did a lot of that growing up, like because I think my natural inclinations and my natural reactions were not always like accepted, I guess. Like I think it's like in certain, because in situations like let's say I want to approach something with my TI, but sometimes it's not meant for you to approach with your TI, and I agree with that. Sometimes it's not meant to be approached from that angle, but for me then it would kind of made me go towards the angle of I need to adapt in the way that they want me to react to this, especially as a thinker. It wasn't necessarily natural to me to react in the way they want. I want to problem solve, but not everyone wants that.
That's so fascinating you brought this up, because I remember you had a thread like way back in no, that's like a week ago, about TI authenticity.
Way back a week ago.
Yeah, way back.
I was like thinking back a year ago. I was like
no, it was a week.
Yeah.
You had something about TI authenticity, and I think I definitely agree in the context of people do praise and over represent the FI authenticity talks. Like people always talk about like I'm misunderstood, blah blah blah. But like I would say getting to know you has definitely brought that out a lot more. Like the concept of it, the reality of it, and the practical application of it as well. I'm definitely seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've seen it, especially in the moments where I get frustrated and you see me not unleash my TI authenticity, right? Like when I'm frustrated.
I wouldn't say that, not that you retreat. It's just that you would be like, it's like you take a deep breath, a metaphorical deep breath. You're like, it's not the time.
Yeah.
And then you like just move on. And I'm going like, dang, it's a lot of control there.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if like one day I'm just gonna crack and be like this crazy person. But I don't think that I like hold it in. I honestly don't think that I like keep it in as resentment. I think what I do is I usually like leak out those emotions to my friends a couple of times. Every time I do it, it's like it builds up less and less, and then
you're also smart enough that to use your energy for being productive. Like threes I know are just work horses, like industrious work ethics. And I think part of that is because rather than let loose your feelings and be in that way of, oh, I'm this person and I'm allowed to feel this and blah blah blah, which is true, but yours isn't in the lens of a feeler's trying to express your feelings. You're in the lens of a thinker trying to express their thoughts that are being dismissed or something. Well,
it's interesting because again, I'm polar FI, so I arguably maybe am bad at. Okay, so it's not that I don't know what I'm feeling. It's when I feel something, if I can't back it up with TI, I just dismiss it. It's not that I literally can't see it. Like I see it there, but I'm just like, it's illogical. Let's move on, right? Like that's kind of how I view it. And as a 3, I'm moving away from emotion. So even if it's there, I'm like, okay.
In a way, I always kind of notice you as a person who has a clear head almost all the time, which is, I think, way more chill than, and also chill because you're a self-pressed 3 as well. Like there's a chill aspect in there that you don't necessarily see with other extroverted Enneagram types either. Right? Because like even if with the 8s and the 7s, 8 being reactive and 7s being that like actively reframing thing, yet being both assertive types, you're not that you're not assertive, but you're not as like expressive either.
I don't know. It's so interesting for me too, because I feel like I'm such a like interesting balance between so many different energies in that like, well, it like, okay, in certain ways I'm like very clearly one thing, like for example, moving away from motion, like that's clear, but also like, for example, like I'm an ILE-TI subtype, so I'm the introverted subtype, but I'm Enneagram triple assertive, 3, 7, 8, or 3, 8, 7, I'm just triple assertive, but then I'm an SP Dom, and I'm consume first, so it's just like this balance and tension between me as a person. Like I don't know, sometimes like I am very social, but also I am also very withdrawn. It's just like,
I feel like too, it's that need to be, well, it's a need to be competent, but it's like your standards anyway. It doesn't really rely on others.
Right.
In that sense.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. It's like I am always competing, but the person I'm competing with is me from 2 weeks ago. I'm not competing with other people. Like I don't really care. Like,
yeah, which I think that's probably what makes, okay, I can say that this is what makes a really interesting presence, I would say, because then you're gonna be like the type of person that when people hang out, the person who is beside you is gonna feel, if not insecure, is supposed to feel secure. Like I would say my feelings for you is very like, oh, I don't have to worry that this person is judging me because she isn't.
right.
There's no reason for her. She's too busy about
Right.
herself. And that's
Right.
not like a bad thing,
Right. Right.
because if she wanted to judge me, she'd tell me.
Right.
And I like at least I have the transparency of that kind of connection rather than, but then granted you've been in the realm of people who projected onto you. So
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think a lot of people struggle with is just like it's hard if you are unconfident to be around people who are confident. It really is. I can't relate, but it is like, and I try hard not to be like, I don't think that I come across as cocky. I don't look down on my friends. I don't look down on people much. I mean, I try not to at least, but
yeah, no, I don't see you either. I don't think you have. I feel like when you express things, you're just saying it as for fun rather than. And I think the context is supposed to be understood in the conversation.
yeah,
Too.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I find it like a struggle in, yeah, but I want to go back to like the TI authenticity thing because again, like I think it's normal. It's expressed a lot more now to be more accepting and create space for FI, which I agree with. It should be done, and I think that that's something that I've been lucky to be able to build that skill throughout my life with an FI dom mom and FI auxiliary sister. I've been lucky enough, and I've had a lot of INFP friends growing up. Like, I've been able to create the space for FI, but I think something that I realized also that's been underappreciated is just like people don't create space for the TI authenticity after that fact. It's like I have to bend over backwards to create space for the FI. People demand that I use FI that I don't have. They attack me for being bad at it, which of course I'm bad at it. I don't have it. And then if I ever like get to a point where I want to express any TI, it's like, oh, then you're not creating space for my FI. Like, it's just so.
You know
Like,
what's funny
there
too
can be
about
space
that?
for both.
Yeah, no, there should be space for both. I just think
Right.
too that because the world is also geared to be a little bit more TE oriented, there is a lot of, I don't know if that's so much a shame, but like a stigma, or maybe it's a different word I'm thinking of, against the introverted thinking, because like you guys come to conclusions on your own time, on your own pace, and it isn't really based on anything else in the external world. It doesn't always have to be applicable too. Like for you, it's like as long as it's logically consistent with itself, you can appreciate it like a system for what it is.
Right.
And I feel like for those things, when it's expressed, because it's also a thinking type, it's not necessarily warm. But then like I don't know, like I find it kind of ironic because when it's expressed in the FE, it's fine. So I don't know, like the hate, not the hate, but the heat against TI authenticity is very, well, one, amusing, but also strange, because just because it's different doesn't mean it's invalid. And I feel like that's my FI giving you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I
like,
mean, the thing that's interesting though is that the FI is demanding a space that is not. It's just interesting because it's not reciprocated. I'm like, how could you ask for it but then not reciprocate? And like me, since I can see that, and I could see that. I mean, I could see it's not consistent, but since I could see it and I've seen the system of this happening over and over, then I can accept it. So I kind of just accepted it. Like,
well, maybe because it's also the problem of the switch, because when you express it as TI, as a person of the TE, my instant go-to is, can I use it? But because I can't use it, I can't necessarily acknowledge it, which is also like, that would be the fault on my end for not giving the space for TI, which I feel like the same problem can occur with FI users demanding it from FE or something.
Yeah, so honestly, in all honesty, yeah, like when growing up, I'm like, the FI comes out and I'm like, that's stupid, right? Like growing up when I was younger, like my sister, like if, for example, this hasn't happened. Let's say my friend, an INFP friend says like, you never spend time with me. That's not true, like that's not true, but it's like the emotional argument, right? Like I sent you a thread or tweet on this also, right? Like,
it's not about actually the word, what they said, it's the feeling behind it. Yeah.
Right, which I obviously understand now. Maybe I didn't as much when I was like 12, which makes sense. I was a little kid. But I don't know. I just find it interesting because it's like, and again, I'm not the type to be like, oh, I'm so misunderstood, because I'm not. People understand me, I think. Maybe they don't, but I mean, it doesn't really matter to me that much. But
Yeah.
it's just like it's interesting because I can enter a different sort of space with like other NTPs, for example.
Yeah, plus it's still a valid observation anyway, because it
Yeah.
is true too.
Yeah,
Like I can give you
yeah.
that TE confirmation. Like it
Yeah, I
is
mean, yeah,
definitely
like
there.
I know it's true. I just like I never find it worth it to really talk. But that's why I like, again, I just brought it up like maybe a week ago or so. I just, up until then, I'm just like, whatever. And like it's interesting because I mean people relate, but also like nothing's gonna change. And like my postmodernist thinking is like nothing's gonna change, so whatever. But there's also part of me as a Gen Z who's like, maybe we should make this change, but I don't have time, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't get a cook part of that compilation.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. See, we do that. That's what I'm saying. We do that all the time.
I would say, well, I'll just add to that, like, if there are any TI users who watch this and like can relate to that frustration, like speak up, like let us know what's up, because I feel like it is, I don't know, from my end, it's entertaining and really interesting to like hear it go around and around, even if I can't, like maybe that's my NE being appreciating of that concept versus my TE being like, well, you can't use it. I'm like, of course I can't use it. I'm polar TI, but that doesn't mean I can't like at least entertain it for the heck of it, because it's something.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the thing that gets frustrating is when I mean, it's just like the nature of polar TI is in that like it doesn't have to be logically consistent, which is fine. But then what happens with a lot of unhealthy polar TI or really low TI people is that they can just ignore everything that like they could make everything about them and not apply it the other way. Like I think people with really bad TI who are unhealthy, it's okay if you have bad TI, but people who use it like incorrectly, then they can be so like hypocritical because it doesn't, the logic doesn't have to apply to them. It could only apply to other people, or it could only apply in certain
Exactly.
settings.
It's
But as
like
a
I'm
TI
allowed
user,
to say it,
the
and
TI
then
has to apply across the system.
yeah, like the statement of I'm allowed to say it, but then and I'm allowed to feel it because that's valid. And you're like, great, but then when you want to say something because you don't agree with it, it's like you're
like,
wrong
but then they go, but my feelings are valid. I'm like, they are, but so are mine. but like I feel like that sometimes you can't get through, which is fine. Like I think I'm especially at an age where I'm dealing with people who are a very mixed bag, where there's some who are very mature and some who are still like in junior high mentally.
Yeah, I remember there was an observation from another person that I knew saying that a lot of people are reenacting the mean girl trope that they missed out on in high school, playing it out in adulthood because they didn't go back and fix it. So they're like operating off of a trauma that's just there.
That's interesting.
So it's like, and they're not aware of it because to them, they think that they're justified because I got feelings. Therefore, I'm allowed to. But it's like that doesn't always comply because, I mean, for me at least, how I understood my feeling and thinking, I can't just make a TE-based solution without considering the ethics, but I also cannot consider the ethics without it being applicable somehow.
Yeah, okay, this is why they're connected. And I think that's why sometimes you see this disconnect more in people with the decision functions that are further apart, which we've discussed in a couple videos. I think with Jeffrey in episode like 15. Like at some point we discussed it.
A year ago.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago we discussed it. But yeah.
We're actually 45.
Well, I'm actually 47.
47, you got 3 kids.
Okay, well my birthday was last week, so I'm 48.
By the way, I cannot get over the fact that this is still happening in your background. It's so hard for me to wrap my mind and think because we're like thinking serious topics. So you see me looking away because the minute I look in, I'm gonna be distracted again. For me doing this motion, and you're doing this. Like,
this is like so like low SE of both of us. Me going like this and you going like this. Like, would you ever see an SE user make these kind of motions? No, you would never.
No, you cannot catch them. You cannot catch them dead being this ridiculous. How long have you been talking? Like 20?
A long time. This is an interesting conversation. What did we talk about?
Well, one, we started off with you, and we started off with your feelings, and you gotta talk about your feelings. Therefore, yay!
I'm gonna cry. Nate, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you for not being really stupid. Wait, actually, I take that back. You are really stupid.
I have been very
No,
stupid.
just kidding. No, I'm kidding. You're always stupid.
Yeah, there we go.
No. Wait. Let me try one more time.
You don't have to take back your TI statements with me.
No. Let me take it back. Let me try one more time. You're always really, really stupid.
There we
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Join us on our season finale, which will be our next episode after this. Our season is wrapping up, and we have a special surprise for you for episode.
That's
30.
right. We do have a special announcement that we won't say in this episode. So too
not.
bad.
We'll start it off on the next one, or maybe we'll tease it, maybe not. But we'll see you on our. Oh no, I'm blocking Nate. On our next one.
I've been blocking your entire derpy face for like the past.
Wait, show my
30
other
minutes.
eyeball. Show my other eyeball.
Your other eyeball's distorted. You're like.
It's a filter. I'm just like.
Yeah.
I feel like that was offensive, but I'm Asian. I was trying
We're both Asian.
I was trying to mimic the filter, and I was like, was that offensive? And then I realized I'm Asian. Anyway, let's move on.
Till next time, please stay tuned for the finale.
Yes. Goodbye.